Hello and welcome into our season review series presented by Comerica Bank. I'm Tori Petry. I've got Twentyman and Mike O'Hara joining me virtually. We've done our season review on offense. We've done our season review on defense. And now it is time to address the Lions special teams unit. Guys, I would say this was one of the Lions' strongest points this year on special teams all across the board. Mike, what did you think of the way the Lions played on special teams this year?
Special, absolutely special. I really do. And they've played well for years, no matter what. Think about this. In the last 3 years, they've had 5 special teams coordinators. Two in what year is this? Two in 2020, two in 2018, both because of firings during the season. And then we got one guy, Bonamega, managed to make it through all of 2019. But no matter who's out there, and they've got the key players that you want. Hunter, they had a good Jack Fox before. Then we had Sam Martin, the kicker, Matt Prater, long snapper, holder, all of that stuff. They've been good, and they have core guys who take it seriously and are really good at it, like Miles and return specialist Jamal Agnew. Just good players.
Tim, we know that Matt Prater had a little bit of struggles this year, especially when it came to extra points, but he still set a record for the most 50-plus yard field goals in the NFL. How would you sum up Matt Prater's a little bit of up and down year?
Yeah, a little inconsistent. He missed 7 field goals. He hadn't done that since 2008. We've just gotten so used to him being a model of consistency over these years, right? And the 3 extra points missed, he hasn't done that since they moved it back. Hasn't done that actually ever in his career. And so there's some inconsistency there. But I think if you're looking at it, one of the positive signs is that he didn't lose any leg strength, right? He was still hitting it good. His towards was a little off, as they say in golf, right? And so, I think that's something that he'll work on, the accuracy issues. I think I don't know how much it played a factor. Of course, Matt wasn't going to say it did, but, we also have to talk about, Jack Fox and Aaron Supposed battling all training camp for that punter job. And so he was switching holders, daily. And then he didn't get OTAs to work with that. And obviously when you get, a new holder, there could be some, just procedural things that are a little bit different that you got to get used to. Now, Matt said that that's certainly not why he missed the field goals. It was all on him. But, I think maybe there's something to that, missing a lot of reps and a lot of practice time. And it'll be interesting this offseason. Matt Prater is a free agent. Now, he's indicated that he wants to re-sign with Detroit. He loved the fact that they gave him that opportunity, all those years back. And he wants to repay them. And I would think it makes sense for Detroit to re-sign one of the best, long distance kickers in the league. You mentioned it, his 59 made field goals of 50-plus yards past Sebastian Janikowski for the all-time most in league history. And so he's a guy that's clutch when you need him to be clutch. And he showed that this year as well. He missed some kicks, but he made some really, really good ones, including that 59-yarder to win that game against Washington. And so, I don't think there's a big issue there. I think both sides will come to agreement. I would expect Matthew Prater to be kicking in Detroit in 2021.
Well, Mike, Tim mentioned that punter battle in training camp that Jack Fox ultimately won. He went on to become a Pro Bowl player this season. He talked about how it was a little bit interesting for him because he had to peak in training camp in order to win that punter job. How impressive was what he was able to do this season, considering the battle he had to go through to get there?
Well, you watch the open and the ball is just, it's just taken off, and you go, God, what a fluke. He's not going to be able to keep this up. And then it's week 2 and week 4 and he does. I think he got maybe a little gas there at the end, the last 2 or 3 games, but he never punted that long in his life. And like, here's a guy who was on a practice squad of the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Somebody saw something and brought him into Detroit. That's a good sign. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned one guy, though, Jamal Agnew, because I think he really emerged as a pure football player this year, not just a gimmick, return specialist. And he was terrific at that. But a little bit of time on offense, and he would go downfield and cover kicks, cover punts, and all that. He was really, really good for the Detroit Lions this year.
Well, we got to mention Don Muhlbach as well. As they say, death taxes and Don Muhlbach. Mike, do you think Muhlbach is back this next year?
I wouldn't see any reason why not. I mean, look, he's gotten to this far as when he signed here back in, I think it was 2004. Matt Millen, then the team president, dubbed him the Nolan Ryan of long snappers, and still got his fastball. He hasn't gone to the curve. He hasn't gone to the knuckleball, so he's doing fine. Yeah, I'd bring him back. I'd bring him back until he says I've had enough. And what's wrong with playing football? I think he'll play a long time. I really do.
Tim, one other underrated aspect of the Lions special teams this season was the ability to block punts. Now, obviously, a lot of things went down with the Lions special teams, with them parting with their special teams coordinator, Braden Combs, there at the end of the season because of a fake punt call that wasn't communicated properly. But what do you think it was about that special teams unit that was able to make big plays like that in this season?
Well, I think Mike talked about it off the top with some core guys that you have on those units, right? Guys like Miles Killebrew, top 7 in the league in special teams tackles. Jalen Reeves-Maben, right? A guy who's a core special teams guy. They brought in a guy like Tony McRae, who was really good as, a gunner. And then, I think one thing that some guys don't get credit for too is a guy like Romeo Okwara, right? He's your starting defensive end. He's a guy that gets you 10 sacks. He's probably your best defensive player. And he's out there on special teams blocking kicks, right? And just the willingness for some of your main guys to play teams, I think that's important as well. And I think you see that across the league now. Guys are more willing to do that just because they value and know how important special teams can be and how a big return or a big turnover or a big play on special teams can completely swing a contest. So, I think when it comes to Lions special teams, it'll be interesting this offseason because you just look at their free agent list, Matt Prater, who we talked about, Don Muehlbach's a free agent. Miles Killebrew's a free agent. Jalen Reeves-Maben's a free agent. Tony McRae's a free agent. And so, they're going to have to make some decisions on what they do with this roster and how they put it together with some of the guys who just focus on special teams. How many of those guys can you keep? And so that's a decision that the new regime will have to have when it comes to Detroit special teams because they were really, really good. But a lot of those guys that are key components of that are free agents this offseason.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they found their punter of the future, but we'll have to wait and see how some of those other questions are answered on special teams. Guys, thanks so much for weighing in on our season review series presented by Comerica Bank. We love chatting with you after the season every year. Happy off season to you guys. So one last time, for DetroitLions.com for our season review series, I'm Tori Petry.